So stop video right now. All right. And yeah, so let's get started. So thanks for joining. I want to start off by talking just a little bit about actor strategy and some stuff, with this whole crazy coronavirus thing that's going on. In the meeting last week, I talked about some of what I'm going to talk about now, but because it didn't get recorded, I'm going to re-say a few things and also a few new things. At the end of the call, one person at random is going to win a $50 gift card. That's just kind of like we're doing a weekly giveaway. And you can use that towards a headshot at City Headshots or Demo Reels NYC or Actor Screener Shoot, or even any of the digital courses or other stuff that we do. So, and we'll probably finish up right around 3 p.m. or a couple of minutes after. All right, let me just make sure that I can see the chat window here in case anybody has any questions or anything. All right, good. So let's see. So let's talk about the coronavirus right now. I hope everybody is feeling okay. I myself was sick a couple weeks ago and it was pretty intense. I don't know if I actually had the virus itself. I wound up getting tested a few weeks later and luckily I was negative, but it's a pretty intense situation. So if you or anybody that you know is sick, one of the things that helped me and my parents feel a lot better was having our windows open and getting a lot of fresh air and stuff and just like hanging out outside on the lawn breathing. So anyway, let's get started here with this whole virus. A lot of people are obviously fearful. No one wants to go out and the whole country is kind of shut down. So what actors have to do is start moving things more online. These days, actors, I mean, in the past, they were submitting like self tapes and stuff. Now that's going even more. There's crazy situations where actors are even like actually like literally recording themselves. Like this one girl was that I know was mailed a box full of iPhones, and they talked to her over the phone and told her to position these iPhones on these tripods, and she recorded her own scene on a green screen for a commercial at her house. So like they're doing some crazy stuff. Voiceover actors are obviously getting a lot of work right now. So if you are thinking of doing voiceover work, now would be a good time to start looking into that. Another interesting change that could potentially happen over the course of the next few months is that agents and casting directors might start to, unless they shift their strategy and start providing different value, there might be less of them because there's not going to be nearly as many in-person auditions, at least for a while. So regular directors and producers and stuff, they're starting to see that they can actually do a lot of stuff online without casting directors and casting sessions. So it would definitely be, a good idea to get the technology down if you don't already have it. The good thing is that even though there's less of a need for certain people in the industry and the whole industry is shifting, there's always going to be a need for actors. So that's a positive. All right. So let's talk briefly about online work, and then we're going to jump into the questions. I just want to talk a little bit about slating. That's kind of like the key category or the key like topic right now, because we have so many online submissions going on and doing self tapes and stuff. If you're not slating properly, just a bit of news in case you're not already aware, casting directors, when they're watching an actor slate, they're gonna like literally they'll watch it and within like the first 5 seconds they'll determine whether they even want to watch the actual audition just by the way that you slate. It's really important. If you're just saying like, my name is Martin Benson and I am playing, like they're probably going to turn it off because they're going to think that you're like weird. You want to be yourself, and that's what we're going to talk about a tiny bit here. So pride words, if any of you have watched the branding video that I have, and I'll link to it in a little while. But I talk about something called your pride words, which are three really, I guess you would say, like deeply internal things about your personality, like traits about you that make you proud, like the three things that make you the most proud of about yourself. Um, in my branding video that I'll include a link to, I'll show you how to find those pride words. But some good tricks to get a really good slate are, if once you know your pride words, if before you say your slate, you close your eyes and you kind of really think about your pride words. So let's say that they're like compassion and strength and, I don't know, intelligence or something, right? So compassion, strength, and intelligence. So you close your eyes and really think like compassion and you feel that way, and then strength, and then intelligence. And then you go and you say your pride word, or you say your slate. It's going to help you do a lot better. You're gonna feel more confident in yourself, more natural, more like grounded and stuff, and it's just going to come off way better and really capture the attention of the casting director. Some issues that people have when they do their slate is they try to be too friendly or bright or like cute or something, or they try to be like super dark and intense, like playing the character. And really, the thing is with your slate, you're showing who you are as yourself, and then you get into character right after the slate. So in your slate, you want to see what your brand is, and then sort of like in the actual scene, you want to see like you playing the character. You still want your brand in there, but you're more like the emotional state of the character. Um, so try not to be like too dark and intense because it's going to look really weird, or like too bright and fun. It just kind of looks like you're trying too hard in your slate. Um, and, don't say your slate like too loud, because then it'll make a casting director think that you are, acting for theater or something. And if it's like a film audition, those little things about your slate can really sort of, you know, turn people off and make them not even watch your video at all. You can laugh a bit right before you say your slate, just kind of get yourself into a good mood. It helps relax you a little bit. And you can actually say, hey, my name is Martin Benson or whatever, instead of Martin Benson, just say like, hi, my name is whatever. It just kind of helps you like lead into the slate a little bit more easily. Okay. Casting directors are looking for someone that they can connect with who has a good personality, and they can tell your personality based on that slate. So just keep that in mind, especially right now during the coronavirus situation, as everything is being done online. You only have like 2 or 3 seconds to kind of capture their attention. So don't make it too rehearsed. It's got to just come off natural. And I think the best way is by being clear on your pride words. All right, so now we're going to get into the questions. As I mentioned, if you have any questions that sort of pop up during the phone call today, you can put them in the chat window. If you haven't used Zoom before, down towards the bottom of the window, there's a little thing. You'll see like a menu bar or whatever, and it says participants, chat, and different stuff. You click the chat, and it brings up the window off to the side of the screen, and then you can just type whatever your message is. Just make sure that the to thing says everyone. Last week when I was doing this, I accidentally sent a message to one person privately that I meant to send to the whole group with a link. So just be aware to make sure that your message gets to like whoever you need it to go to. So I believe today we have 4 questions that we're going to go through. If you have one, again, just write it in the comments below, and I'll try to keep track of that. So the first question, I've been told by various sources the importance of social media, particularly Instagram. Although I registered quite a while ago, I have no idea how to utilize it to help my career, nor the technical aspects involved. Can you advise? So I love getting questions about social media because it's very interesting. There's certain people who in the industry, there's a lot of people in the industry, this industry, actually any industry, that, they're social media marketers, or they're social media marketing firms, right? Or they're somebody like an actor coach who has an agreement that they signed with a social media marketing firm, or they like try to push business towards them. And so there's kind of like this, in my opinion, a little bit of a conflict of interest where, let's say I was to be like, yeah, social media is super important. And if you want to you want to affirm, use this one company that I know, and I might be getting a kickback or something from it. In my honest opinion, social media is not necessary when you're first starting out. You can, if you like doing it, you can, but you really don't need it nearly as much as some people will have you believe. Once you're auditioning for really big projects and stuff, and you're trying to show that your name can pull weight, or that you're trying to show that you're very credible in the industry, it can be more valuable. But when you're kind of like building up and you're still like auditioning for smaller parts, and not like series regular roles and stuff, it's not as important. And my issue with it is that it can be a big time suck. Like, you're trying to learn it, you're trying to post every day, you're trying to follow people and everything, and it takes you away from some of the things that are actually more important and will make a more noticeable difference. But I will answer this question. And I actually have a video that I'll link to that talks a little bit more about this. I'll include the link in a few minutes. But basically, the benefit of social media is that you can use it to network with people that would otherwise, you might not be able to find their contact information. Again, you do need to make sure that your basic marketing materials, like your headshot, your resume, and footage of yourself are in place, and that you are actually starting to build your resume and your IMDb. In my opinion, IMDb credits on there are actually just as valuable, if not more valuable, than the social media following that you have, because that shows actual stuff that you've been in. So let's see. Yeah, actually, so what I was going to say is social media, when you're networking with casting directors, okay, like you can go to, well, right now with the coronavirus, there's not as many like in-person classes going on, but there are online classes and stuff. But going to classes and meeting casting directors in person and stuff, once you start networking with them over email and you keep in touch every couple of, 4 to 8 weeks, when you're doing that, they're going to start to like you, and they'll care less about your social media following once they know who you are. Social media is usually better if you're contacting people cold out of the blue, and you need to be like, hey, look, I have this big following, so I'm actually someone that you can trust. But let's talk a little bit. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, those are the 3 main social media profiles that you should focus on if you're going to be doing it. Instagram is definitely valuable, but Facebook and Twitter are also important. If you don't really know too much about them, you can set up your profiles on them, and then you can link them to this tool that I use. It's called Meet Edgar. Now, again, I was talking about cross promotion and stuff. I'm not actually getting any commission or anything by recommending this tool, but there's a $50 a month tool that I actually use called Meet Edgar, which I'll type in here, Meet Edgar, and it's just meetedgar.com. And it actually, what it does is, it's really cool. You can link it to like RSS feeds, which are like blogs and stuff. So you might go online and read like Backstage blog or certain other blogs, and you just kind of basically copy and paste the URL to whatever website you're reading, and you put it into Meet Edgar, and it will pull content. And then it'll pop it up and say like, hey, here's automatically generated posts that we made for you. And it'll have like a sentence or a few sentences that it pulls from the actual content, and it recommends things. So like, my social media is mostly automated. It doesn't really take much time from me. And I write my own blogs. So when my blog goes up, it'll automatically pull like 5 or 6 sentences from the blog and generate automatic posts. And then I have the ability to approve them, edit them, like change the wording, or just like be like, no, this is stupid, and delete that post. And then what it does is it automatically schedules and posts them at a predetermined time, and it keeps on recycling and reposting the same stuff every couple of weeks. It might, until I update with new content. So Meet Edgar is really cool to automate your social media, so you're not spending so much time on it. But I have, I mentioned earlier a video that talks about like, a good sense of when to start worrying about social media. The video series is called The Actor's Journey. And I'm going to copy and paste the link right here. Okay. The Actor's journey. Um, Ignore the number 7. I don't know why that showed up there, but that link, the actor's journey, it's a one main video, but then a series of a couple of videos. It's a 12-step thing, and social media is like step 8 or 9 in there, because there's a lot of other things that are way more important to start doing before you start, freaking out about how am I going to build up my social media presence. All right. And again, if you have any questions as I'm going, feel free. But I'm going to move on to question 2 now, which says, honestly, my biggest question is about how to start. I've taken classes and want to start going on castings and have signed up on a couple of sites, but I'm not even sure about the process. Plus, I don't have any reel, so I'm feeling overwhelmed. That's a very common question. I get that question a lot from actors who are starting out. Um, you know, it's always like the mindset is like, okay, so I have to go to classes. I have to get my headshot. I have to get my reel. And then I guess I have to submit. And I don't really know how to submit. And I don't know anything else that comes after that. Maybe something about brand. It's kind of like the rest is sort of like in the clouds. Um, the thing is if you really want to do an act, you really want to have an acting career that goes in a, very, you want a directed acting career, so to speak, where you go in a direction that you want. One of the biggest things that you need to do is sort of reverse this process. Most actors, they start out by saying like, okay, I'm going to take some classes, get my training, and I'm going to figure out like, what my marketing materials are. Then I'm going to submit. Then I'm going to figure out what my brand is. And then I'm going to figure out really like, what is my long-term goal? And that was a friend of mine, Tyrone, who I consulted with for a while. He was the same way. He's been acting for almost 20 years now, like at least like 15 or 16 years. And he'd always wanted to kind of like vaguely get on Broadway. But we reversed that process and we started by getting hyper clear on what his goal was. And that was to get on Broadway. So that would be step 1, get super clear on your goal. What do you actually want? Where do you want to be? Next is once you're clear on that, then you'd want to get clear on your brand. So I helped him get clear on his brand, and he figured out like his goal was to get on Broadway in like a role that, he could really connect with. So then it was like, okay, well, what does he need to connect with? And that's his brand. And we found African-American strength, compassion, and pride. That was his brand. Those were his pride words: strength, compassion, and pride. And once he felt that, it completely changed his like mindset, and he was way more excited and stuff and felt way more centered when he went to auditions. And so he knew much more easily what kind of character he wanted to get booked for. And he looked specifically for those roles and he started submitting for them. And then when he was on the audition, he was so like grounded and centered, and the character was him. And so he booked it. And he got onto Broadway within like less than a month of going through that process. So again, step 1, if you're not sure how to start, get clear on your goals. Step 2, get clear on your brand. And I'll include that link to the branding thing in a minute. Step 3, that point is when you're going to start building your marketing materials. Because why go and spend all this money on headshots and footage and everything if you're not clear on your brand and you don't know what types of characters and roles you want? You need to tailor your marketing materials for what specifically you're going for. And then step 4, now you're going to start submitting projects and networking. And, you're just going to kind of test things as you go along. And that video, the actor's journey thing that I included there, really does a great job of outlining that whole process. And it tells you how you're going to, start to see whether things are working or not. And then you're going to go and, slightly modify your marketing materials or your brand based on the feedback that you're getting. Then you're going to move into building a website and reel and all of the other things. But a professional reel, actually similar to social media, because the second half of that question was, plus I don't have a reel, so I'm feeling overwhelmed. A professional reel is also not as necessary as a lot of actors think, like highly professional footage. What's most important is actually just showing footage that can show that you can act, that you know what you're doing on camera and that you're natural and all of that. So even if it's not super professional, as long as the lighting is good and you can hear you clearly, that is key and you could just do some sort of simple scene with another actor, having someone hold your iPhone up, and that'll show people what you sound like, what you look like, and that you can act. And that is often enough to kind of start getting you opportunities. Then later on down the line, once you're clear on your brand and you have everything, you know what you're doing, then you spend all the money to shoot footage for a reel, and all the other stuff. Okay. So again, the actor's journey is really good to watch there. And I'm going to actually include a link here. I built this mini course, which I'm going to be sending an email out to everybody probably next week or so, or the week after. And it's called the I think is a funny title, The Practical Performer. I tried to play with the alliteration, but The Practical Performer is, here's the link. Let me just make it clickable. Martin, why is it not working? I have to write the HTTPS. Right. Will this one work? We'll try one more time. If it's not working, you'll just have to copy and paste the link into there you go. Okay. So yeah, you can click that. It'll take you to the mini course, and the whole thing goes through and answers that question, which is, where do you start? How do you go? Like, it lays out everything. It explains networking and how all of that stuff works. It's like a series of, I think, 9 or 10 videos that I talk about along with text and stuff. And there's 2 modules. So completely free. You can sign up for it if you're interested. Someone wrote, is it better to write our own scene or perform a scene from a known production? Good question. Honestly, that's up to you. I usually, if you're a good writer, write your own scene. If you're not, you can do a scene from a known production, especially if you're having professional footage shot. Like, you're paying, let's say, like $500 or $1,000 or something to have a production company shoot a scene for your reel and make it look like it's something out of a film. Then you should do an original scene so that it doesn't look like, you're trying to fake the fact that you were in something. And it could also even make a casting director think that you were in a short film. Unless like the style of the footage is so similar. Like, some companies do the same type of lighting setup in every single scene, and it kind of like, it starts to be like, oh, that was shot by that real company or something. But if it's shot like something natural and it looks like it was out of a short film or something, then do an original scene. Otherwise, if you're just going to film your own footage and have like a friend hold a camera up or something like that, you can totally do something from a known production, especially if you feel like it fits well within your brand. All right, so we're running out of time here, but if anybody needs to go, this is going to be recorded and posted up. But I have 2 more questions to go through. So question number 3 is, when I do workshops with agents, casting directors, or managers, many like my performance and materials, yet none has ever called me in for a meeting. What am I doing wrong? Could it be they don't like my looks? Well, sure, some people aren't going to like your looks, but they might need someone who looks like what you look like for the character. So it doesn't really matter whether they like your looks or not. They're always casting for different characters. But here's the thing. A lot of this is in the follow-up. You need to be sure that you stay in touch with the casting directors, so that once they do have something right for you, they're going to call you in because they remember you. Many actors go to casting director workshops thinking that the casting director is going to take their name down and then call them in a few weeks or months later. Thing is they're never going to do that. Rarely will they ever call you in unless you've been consistently following up with them over the course of like at least 2 months to even 6 months or a year. You use the casting director workshop to meet the person and ask them if they're okay with you following up. And then at that point, you reach out to them occasionally and have a video all on like following up and stuff that you can watch. I talked about that in more detail last week. I won't have time to go through that right now. But you follow up and then they will book you. They're not actually, even though they might make it seem like that, they're not actually really writing your name down and being like, hey, who was that actor that I remember from like that class a while back that I liked? That's so hard to do. They don't have the time for that. They're doing these classes like every single day, they're not going to remember you. So you got to make them remember you by you following them up. And here is a really cool video about casting director workshops and how to make the most of them. Let's paste that. I know I'm putting lots of links in here, but casting director workshops and making the most of them. Okay. So check that one out. These are actually a lot of these videos I just recorded in the past like week because I've been working on building that free course and a much more in-depth course called Breaking In and Breaking Out, but that's not going to be ready for another like month or so. All right, let's go into our final question here. I am not sure how to capture my type in my headshot. I've taken several, but have not been happy with any. I have a long list of characters and adjectives that I want to embody in my headshot, and I'm having trouble narrowing my list down to one headshot. Okay, so there's a couple things that are not fully clear in this question, but you know, I will answer it to the best of my ability, and then whoever wrote this question, if you feel like I missed something or whatever, and you want to chat with me, we can do that. But basically, what I'm gathering is that you've taken headshots in the past, and you haven't been happy with them, potentially because they haven't captured your type. And now you have a good list of characters and adjectives that you want to capture in your new headshot, but you're having trouble narrowing your list down to one primary look or what you want your headshot to actually look like, because there's just too many words and too much stuff and you don't know how to kind of like consolidate it. So if I'm getting that correctly, the first thing that I want to say is it's better to capture your brand in a headshot than your type. Your brand is a combination of type and your personality. Okay. Your type is generally the characters in the industry. Your type is generally the characters that the industry sees you as. So like a mother, a student, a gang member, a police officer. You want to pick something that the industry most often calls you in for and that you most enjoy playing and look like. And then you can dress similarly to that in your headshot and make sure that the environment and background are conducive to that. And that is how you're going to capture your type. So let's say that you're a police officer. You're not going to dress in actual police officer clothes, but you will dress in sort of like something a little bit more professional looking. And you're going to have like a bit more of like a kind of like a professional demeanor, and maybe be an environment that's conducive to a police officer. So like, you could actually have the photographer shoot outside and completely blurred out, but just so that you can kind of see it a little bit, maybe like a cop car in the distance or something, some sort of like, not, and when I say completely blurred out, I mean like a color wash. So like if you have to like squint to even know what that thing is. It's not like there's a cop car clearly behind you, because then that's distracting. But just like this general sense, you want to give a general sense in the environment of who you are or what your type is. And then you're going to be focusing on your brand or your personality with your expression. And that's going to be related to your pride words. So in a second, I'll copy and paste a link to your brand stuff. But basically, let's pretend that actually here, sorry, my stupid phone is making a noise. Okay. So here, an example is a brand, patient, compassionate, and strong teen who can be fake when meeting new people, right? So that is, that's a brand. And I'm going to just see if I can somehow share this image. It would be awesome if this works. Let's see. If it doesn't work, I will figure out a different way to share it. Okay, it looks like it's not working there. Let's try dropping it into the, nope. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna copy and paste this and put it into Dropbox, and then just share a link on Dropbox. So all you gotta do is click this link and you'll be able to see the picture that I'm talking about. Downloads, copy, Dropbox, paste. Okay, right click, share, copy Dropbox link. Okay, so here, this image that I just put in there in the chat window, you can click it and see the photo, okay? And basically what this image is this girl's brand, as I mentioned, was patient, compassionate, and strong teen who can be fake when meeting new people. Now, fake when meeting new people is what I call the dark word, but patient, compassionate, and strong, those were her pride words. And I think that she was trying to capture the words patient and or compassionate in this photo. And so when I was directing her, I was really helping her kind of like, get into that zone, closing her eyes and really relaxing and stuff. And, you know, the key thing is capturing a really, really good version of the personality. And then you combine that with the visual side of like, what are you wearing? What's the background and stuff? And she didn't really want a specific background, but she's generally, she goes out for teen roles. But if you're like a cop, she might have been wearing something more professional and maybe done the shot outdoors or something just to kind of give off that feel. All right, so let me just make sure that I didn't miss anything from this. Yeah, so I recommend thinking of each pride word one at a time, and then you try to nail those in your shots. So like if you have 3 pride words, you'd be like, all right, for the first set of shots, I'm going to focus on the, strength aspect of myself. And then the second one would be the patient aspect, and you're not like trying to capture all 3 words at once because that's a little bit, that's very challenging. But hopefully that answers that question. Like I said, if it doesn't, you can let me know in the chat window and I'll talk a tiny bit more about it. But here, find your brand. This link is very specifically set up to help you actually figure out your brand. I take you through a 9-step process in a video where we talk about like, how to find your pride words and all of that stuff. And also like why having a brand is so important. So let's see. So hopefully I've answered those questions well. We're about to finish up here, but before we do, one person, like I mentioned, has been randomly selected to win a $50 gift card that you can use at City Headshots, actorscreenershoot.com, demoreelsnyc.com, or even for a digital course that I'm putting together. So just email me after the call and I'll inform my team so they keep you on file. The person who won is Elizabeth Batcher. Congratulations. So yeah, thanks for joining me on the call today. And don't forget to register for next week's call. And here's the link to do that. All right. And let's see. If you have any questions or you need anything from me, you can just shoot me an email, martin@cityheadshots.com. I'll get back to you. And finally, if you have a friend who you think would enjoy being in this meeting, I'd really appreciate if you can forward them the link to register as well. All right. So thanks so much, everybody, and stay safe. Okay. And we'll be doing this next week. All right.